All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. This is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Before I get started, I need to say a couple of things before we get into tonight's review of Smackdown. First and foremost, thank you so much, TNB Gamers. Thank you for your subscription. Also, me being a very humble person, I want to thank everybody that has been watching the past couple of reviews. Last week's Friday Night SmackDown got over 30 views and 5 likes. That is the first time I've got more than 2 likes. And that's the first time ever. Last time I celebrated getting 2 likes with my review on Money in the Bank 2011 review from the past. Thank you guys so much for that. Thank you guys for liking last week's video. I got 5 likes. That's the first time that has happened. And me being a humble person, I want to thank you guys. Thank you also for those of you too who gave the 2 likes in my review on last week's amazing pay-per-view of AEW All Out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys for your likes. Thank you for your subscription. It means the world. I do not take it for granted, and I want to be humble about that. So, with that being said, also, thoughts and prayers to anyone who has been affected by 9/11. It has been 20 years since that has happened, and I'm going to tell you guys something. I saw the review, the documentary about the background stories for building up to SmackDown in Houston 20 years ago. And I'm going to tell y'all something. You know something is bad when Stone Cold Steve Austin is fighting tears. I saw the documentary building up, and when everybody expressed where they were when they heard it, you could see Stone Cold is literally fighting tears. And it is not often, I don't think it's ever, that you see the rattlesnake fighting tears. So you know something is serious whenever that happens. But thankfully, everyone's better now. It's been 20 years. We got him. As John, for those of us who are building up to Extreme Rules, one of the things we did not see on Extreme Rules 2011 was the exclusive after show video where John Cena announced the Justice. But I'm going to call it Justice, and The Rock came back the next night and did it. But we don't have political talks here. Let's get on to the show. Thoughts and prayers to anyone who has been affected, including Vega, who wasn't present tonight on camera, but she was around behind the scenes. So thoughts and prayers to her as well, as she was affected. Let's get started with tonight's review. Thank you guys for your subscription. What a great night. First time in a while, SmackDown comes to Madison Square Garden. And we opened up the show with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline coming out and explaining, saying how they run the show and everything, except they got interrupted by the returning Brock Lesnar. What y'all think about that? Was that a good imitation of Paul Heyman? Let me know what you think. It was the best I could do. But either way, Brock Lesnar comes out. The Suplex City chants go out. Roman got a couple of chants as he was coming out to the arena. But Brock comes out, gets face to face. The Usos try to break it up. And we have ourselves a bit of a Jerry Springer moment when Paul Heyman asked, why didn't you tell Roman that I was going to be there? Which implies that Paul Heyman knew about the return. Jerry, 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 Jerry. That's what I was chanting the whole time. I don't know what the fans were chanting, because for those of you who saw live television, it's on network television, which makes it easy to see. But for those of us who saw it, you notice there was a long mute going on. So I don't know what the fans were swearing about, or if it was Brock or Paul, but somebody was doing some swearing because it went quiet. But either way, Roman left the ring. Paul Heyman gives us a moment from the past where he introduces the reigning, defending, undisputed, Universal Heavyweight Champion, Brock That was the best I could do. Let me know what you think. But either way, of course, Brock issues a challenge to Roman Reigns for the heavyweight championship, Universal Championship, which is a match reserved for Finn Balor. Man, the ending was awesome. We'll get to that in just a second. But Brock Lesnar gave Paul 5 seconds, and he was about to F5 him until the Bloodline came and ambushed Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar fended all 3 of them off. And of course, to make matters more entertaining, Kayla Braxton came out and backstage and startled Paul again. I think she enjoys it, and we all enjoy it with her. And asks, what's the update? And Paul Heyman said he will give the answer. Roman will give the answer at the end of the night. And then to make matters more entertaining, besides being startled by Kayla Braxton, I hope she startles him for Halloween. That's going to be fun. Then Big E is right by him, and he startles Paul Heyman, making the matters more entertaining. But let's get down to some great matches. We opened the show match-wise with a 10-man tag. You had Otis the Evil Olympic Bulldozer, Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, who looked ridiculous tonight, and the Dirty Dogs. I have to say, I'm glad that Pat McAfee is back, because we were about to have a great time with Shinsuke's entrance until Sami Zayn pulled out the microphone and Pat McAfee started singing. Pat started singing, "Please stop talking, you're ruining the moment." That was just hilarious. God, I love having Pat McAfee on SmackDown. So Sami Zayn looks a hot mess. He pretends to love New York and then brings out Atlanta's own Hawks man. I believe his name is Trae Young. Yeah, Trae Young. From the Atlanta Hawks. And I have to say this. I'm being from Georgia. I'm a Hawks fan myself. And I know Apollo Crews was happy to see him as well, because Apollo Crews, fun fact, spent a lot of years, probably now, even now, residing in Stone Mountain, Georgia, not too far from Atlanta. However, even though I'm a Hawks fan, I have to give Trae the thumbs down because of the disrespect that was intended for New York City. Not to mention his attack on one of my childhood heroes, Rey Mysterio. But the weapon didn't work, and a double 619 to Sami Zayn, who, again, I reiterate, looks a hot mess. For also a big ending by Big E Langston. 1, 2, 3. Team Big E along with the Mysterios and Shinsuke and Rick Boogs. They win. Great match. Now we get down to some more interesting business with the contract signing between Becky Lynch and Bianca. Bianca comes out and signs it first, and then out comes Becky Lynch. Okay, I have 2 problems. Becky Lynch comes out with a fur coat on. I have 2 problems with that. But I'm going to get into problem number 2 instead of problem number 1, because I don't believe in political talk. But let's get into problem number 2. Why are you wearing a fur coat? I looked up the weather in New York City. It is 80 degrees. So you know Becky Lynch is sweating. She needs a whole lot of water. But the good news is, now that Becky Lynch is a heel, at least Seth and Becky can have mixed tag team matches. I'm so hyped up I got my words slipped out. So Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins can have mixed tag team matches because they both heels. Now, at first, fans didn't want to accept that, but she is a heel. Not because of the 23-second squash of the century. For those of you who have followed me, you know I have called SummerSlam the squash of the century. Not just because of that, but because of her actions over the past couple of weeks, turning down challenges and losing a piece of Becky's respect. But Nonetheless, Becky signs the contract after playing off like she was not going to, and we are going to have the match. I was hoping we could get a rematch where both ladies can be fan favorites, but hey, to make Bianca Belair better, and Bianca is so great to watch, becoming one of my favorite SmackDown female wrestlers so far. Becky was at the top of the list, but with her behavior lately, scripting wise, I'm much towards Bianca now because Becky is a heel and she has shown her heelish ways. And she's going to make herself extra hotter by wearing that hot fur coat suit. You know you sweating and you know you need some water. I'm sweating just thinking about it. But moving on to an amazing match. Speaking of Becky Lynch, her husband, Seth Rollins, put on an amazing match with Edge and Madison Square Garden. If you're going to come to Madison Square Garden, you got to put on a show. But either way, they put on a show. They tore the house down. Seth Rollins mocked Edge's wife, attempting the glam slam once. That was a bit of a botch. Then attempting it the second time, it worked much better that time. But that's not the only move thievery we saw, as Edge would go for the pedigree, which was to steal it from Seth, even though it was made famous by Triple H. So the match continues. Fans chant, "This is awesome," and indeed it was awesome. You have Edge going for his sharp edge shooter, as I like to call it, his own version of the sharp shooter. The crossface, which did not work out this time. That was the move that made Seth tap out. But Seth came out with a power bomb to the turnbuckle and then attempted to go for a curve stomp, but it was met with a spear for an amazing 2 count. That wasn't it. Seth Rollins, being the heel that he is, resorted to a low blow, which is something the original Edge, the heelish Edge, would have done. And he resorted to a low blow behind the referee's back. A couple of super kicks. We saw a moment where Seth, in his crazy eyes, is like, "Why won't you die?" and goes for it. And Edge, without saying a word, gives Seth Rollins that look of, "You're going to have to put me down." He had a glazed look in his eyes, but it was a look that said, "You're going to have to finish me." Kind of like Ric Flair did when he gave Shawn Michaels the signal, "Come on, you're going to have to put me down." And that's when Shawn Michaels said, "I'm sorry, I love you." Which, by the way, I'm glad Young Bucks aren't champions anymore. Young Bucks actually mocked Shawn at one time, back in May. But either way, after a bunch of super kicks and a curve stomp, Edge lost that match and was sent to the hospital, which made me and ask the question, was that real or scripted? Because we all know Edge has neck problems. We know that. But it made me ask if what happened was scripted, because a lot of times people do things to build up moments, but a lot of times those things do be real. In fact, for those of us who grew up on the ruthless aggression era, we remember when the "Don't Try This at Home" ads meant something and they really wanted you to understand. They had the dark, suspenseful music and they showed the thing was in gray and they tried to show people getting injured so they would help you understand. Don't do this. And some folks didn't listen, but most of us did, thankfully. But we didn't know if it was real because the commercial said it's entertainment, but the hazards are real. But at the same time, I don't know for sure. It might actually be a real injury. I don't know for sure. Because sometimes they will do things for scripting purposes. But because Edge has neck problems, I don't know for sure. Nonetheless, it was an amazing match. Another amazing match was the Street Profits versus the Usos. That match was good. It started off great. It started off with a drop kick. It wasn't no collar and elbow tie ups or wrist locks or nothing like that, as we saw in the previous match with Seth and Edge. But they got down, they got dirty. They, well, not necessarily dirty, but they got down. It was an amazing tag team match, and Madison Square Garden, as mentioned, has seen a lot of great tag teams. So I'll never, who can remember that match between the Dudleys and the Hardys at 2000's Royal Rumble? Just to name one thing. But either way, great match. We saw Montez Ford, very athletic, doing amazing dives. The match was great. We saw um, the Street Profits, one of the guys kicked out of a super kick and a splash off the top rope, which usually puts people away. It didn't. Montez Ford delivers a splash to, I believe it was Jey Uso. I can't tell because the only thing that helps us tell the difference is their hair. One's Jay's short hair, Jimmy's long hair. But either way, Montez Ford goes for his amazing frog splash. And before we could get the 3 count, Roman comes in and ruins the whole match. A great match. At least it wasn't the result that we wanted because we were rooting for Edge. By the way, did you notice the fans were singing to Edge's entrance? That was awesome. But either way, moving forth, the moment was ruined. A great tag team match was ruined because Roman Reigns, who stood on the sidelines while Paul was staring him to death. I bet Brock doesn't miss him anymore because he's like, is this what I got to deal with? Him, you staring at me all day? But either way, the match was great. Roman ruined it. But if you pay close attention, there was smoke building in the background on the entryway as Roman was putting Montez in the guillotine lock. And at that moment, I knew the Demon King was coming back. And my prediction reigned true. The Demon would be, and I knew this because as we saw last week, the lights went down and Michael Cole said, it's the return of Brock Lesnar. No, we knew last week that it was the Demon's presence that was being summoned. And tonight, as we knew, the Demon returned, and he returned to Madison Square Garden, which means at Extreme Rules, Roman will go one-on-one with the Demon King first, which is the alter ego of Finn Balor, and then it's on to Brock Lesnar. Or as Roman likes to say, he's going to smash Finn Balor, and then he's going to smash Brock Lesnar. I'm going to get into what I think about that word another time. But for right now, what a great night. I'm excited to see Finn versus Roman and Fur Coat Lynch versus Bianca Belair at Extreme Rules. It's going to be an amazing pay-per-view. That's all the time I've got for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for your subscription and your views and your likes. I really appreciate it. And I will see you Sunday where I'm going to give an on this day review on Unforgiven 2004. See you Sunday. Until then, have a great weekend. Peace out.